What's happening? What's up? What's good and what it do? I'm gonna drop in the chat the link if you want to join in. As soon as I find the chat. How y'all doing? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Workforce Wednesdays, where we talk about what's happening in the workforce while your supervisor is asleep. All right, bear with me. Invite. Copy. Copied. All right. So tonight's topic is stop and frisk. Resume stop and frisk. And we're going to talk about all the things about you and your cultural wealth that you bring to the workplace and justifying who you are. There's more than just what's on that resume. All right. Come on, baby. Thank you, baby. All right. I'm in the right spot now. All right. Join me live. I'm going to pull some energy at the end of this too. Join me live. Okay. So let me throw some things at your head. In this first scenario, it just, the deep breath, it makes you tired just thinking about it. So there was a situation where this person was actually, I don't want to give too much detail. They were actually in a scenario with the police. And they were telling the police that they had been robbed and they were trying to file a police report. And so as they're telling their story, the police officers just start saying wild stuff like, oh, I don't believe you. And this sounds suspicious. And I don't know, there's a hole here somewhere. And the person is like, well, really, I'm like shook. Could you just help me? What's the next steps to try to, help me recover my situation? What do I do? Because I just don't know what the next steps are. And so that police officer begins to interrogate the person. And they go get another police officer. And so they start asking them, well, where did you live before you lived at your current address? Well, have you ever lived such and such? And they're putting their head together and they're just being nasty and rude and disrespectful, ornery. A third officer comes up while the other two are digging feverishly in the computer, trying to find more reasons to be belligerent and to poke holes in this person's experience and to actually like further traumatize them. And so this Black person then begins to say, after this goes on for about 30 minutes, well, I actually am an employee at such and such, and I've been on my job for X amount of years, and I work for the department of such and such, and I have an advanced degree in such and such, and I just closed on my home in such and such area, and this, that, and there. And then the conversation just started to, it's almost like if you could visualize it, it was like they were like, taken aback. And it was like this person, this Black person, wasn't valuable on their own with a legitimate story. They had to be validated by their resume. So their resume was actually a stop and frisk. It's just like, we're gonna shake you down. We're gonna see if you got something. We're just gonna keep beating it, keep checking it, going through it, and find something, because you might have a warrant, you might have this, blah blah. Because you can't just be a Black person, and you can't just be having this experience happening to you, and you can't be the victim, and you can't be traumatized, and it can't be something that you're not in cahoots with, and you're trying to do the overlay for the underplay so you can make a fool out of us, and you could be part of this, heist that's happening somewhere. And that's what the egregious act of community cultural wealth in the workplace is about. The resume stop and frisk. Oh, I should have wrote this down because it was another scenario. Bear with me. What was this other scenario? Oh, let me just go off the cuff. I know I should have wrote it down. I've been to the gym and had a hot shower, and now I'm just like in chill mode, drinking my coconut water and trying to remember what the other suggested story was for resume stop and press. If you have any ideas, feel free to jump in the chat or click the link and come on live and share your story. So another example of the resume stop and press. What was it I wanted to share? Okay, so let's do this one. There was a person that with this whole remote return to work situation, they put the person in a position which was a remote position, and then it was just like on the drop of a dime, it was just like, okay, now you have to return to the office tomorrow because I said so. And there was no room for, oh, well, the position was remote. I have to figure out transportation. And so, could you give me a little time to just figure out how to do that? For you to come to me on a Thursday and say, okay, tomorrow I need you to do this. That created a whole scenario. So again, the resume stop and frisk. There was a long procedure. There was a long process. It was a long situation where the person that was being asked to come in with the threat of being written up was just saying, hey, well, I've been working this job for X, Y, and Z. Well, I have never had a bad performance evaluation. Well, I do have a degree in this, that, and the third. And my transportation issue didn't get an opportunity to be properly vetted out so it could be resolved. So again, what is it? The resume stop and frisk. It wasn't until that person started pulling down a laundry list of things off their resume that people would actually start to listen to them, and people that have been working with them for years. Again, the front on community cultural wealth. It wasn't enough to say, hey, I value you as an employee. There's going to be some changes, and here's what needs to be done. So we have to turn the tables, and we want to work with you. So what's a reasonable amount of time that we can get this done? And here's what we can do in the meantime. Again, it's always a scenario where Black people specifically, and I'm not just excluding anyone else, but I'm Black and I'm talking from a Black experience, and that's what the research was about for community culture. Well, having to use their resume in a stop and frisk situation within an organization. And so I wanted to chop up different ways and different resources that you can use to actually try to circumvent this resume stop and frisk. I've had the pleasure of working with some phenomenal MDs, medical doctors that are actually consultants. So they're not actually practicing medicine anymore. They're consulting and doing trainings and getting different certifications in various sciences and sharing that skill set and training people behind them. And they have just very much got ahead of this whole resume stop and frisk. And they'll just say, hey, don't talk to me like that. You're going to respect me for who I am, and we're going to have a civilized conversation, and we're going to stay on task. And I admire them so. And more of us need to be empowered in that way, within our organizations. And when we work in or when we move around in other areas of the United States specifically, so that's where I live. When you move around to these other areas and various aspects of organizations and companies that you have to deal with, that you don't have to cite your credentials to run it down to get somebody to respect you. So that's my time. I do want to pull some energy around resume stop and frisk. And I'd be interested in hearing your stories where you actually, just had to tell somebody, I work here, or, I have this experience. And so I should be treated with respect or treated with the same unbiased, the unbiased agency that other people around here get. I know that's a big thing, where coworkers don't respect other coworkers, and they have these unconscious biases and these misconceptions and misunderstandings, and it never gets resolved because it's a organization of unchecked biases. And they can't understand why they can't get off the square. I'm like, because the biases that you all have are never checked and dealt with. They'll just pretend like it's not happening. It's not happening. Face your financial fears. Now that's a biggie. That's a biggie with the resume stop and frisk. Because people have financial fears, that tends to be the biggest reason why we start to recite our skills and what we do and what we bring to the company and who we are and what we do for a living and where I work, to get the powers that be to believe you and or to get that foot off your neck. And I think that the fear of the financial repercussions is part of the bondage that keeps us in positions. And again, not only keeping us in position, but also keeping us literally in check, where if we start to explain ourselves, it's almost like traveling as a slave or as an enslaved person. And they give you papers where you have to go to another plantation or to go on a run or to go to the store or something like that. And so then when you get stopped by some, overseers or people that don't look like you but are in control and have authority over you, just because, you have to explain yourself. You have to pull out this resume and you say, I am such and such. I belong such and such place. And I do this at that place. And for that reason, I'm going to do this in another place so I can go back to the place that I came from. I see the resume stop and frisk the same as being on 67th and East End or 67th and Jeffries or 67th and Cottage and having the rollers come up on you and stop and frisk and want to know your name, want to see your ID like they did in was it the Ice Cube or Spike Lee movie? It was, I guess it was the Ice Cube movie. Well, let me see your ID. Stop, let me see your ID. Now let me see your ID. So instead of us always throwing our credentials up, we can stand our ground. And I think we need to be more eloquent and about the ways that we do that. And I said we have to be more eloquent than other people have to be. Other people can just say whatever they want to say and be brash and whatever. You've seen it in the workplace. But what was that Michelle Obama said? When they go low, we go high. But okay, so back to the card, the energy, the fear of having your the financial fear. So keep it in mind, facing your financial fears and dealing with the resume stop and frisk. When you are honest with yourself about fears of success or failure, success, it should be defined by your own standards and not compared to anybody else. I believe competition is evil. I have posted videos about that. And if you're being successful on your own terms, you're doing something in the workplace that doesn't stress you out, that you make enough money to go do what you want to do, live your life, and then pay your bills. I mean, not particularly in that order, but the fact that you're not working just to survive, but you're working and you're thriving. And this whole misnomer about you got to be in love with your job, don't let that beat you up. Don't let that leave you unfulfilled, because we're not here just to work. We're here to thrive. And work is very subjective. So when you are honest with yourself about fears of success or failure, they can no longer control you. Be free of hidden fears by exposing them to the light of awareness. And you'll realize that you, in fact, have nothing to fear, and that every successful person has struggled with and released these self doubts. So, even the ones that are coming against you in these workforce or organizational culture situations that are doing the stopping and the frisking, they're fearful, and that's why they behave that way. And everybody needs to come to terms with those fears and get past them. Get past them. And a lot of the problem is getting people to be completely honest. These checking the boxes and controlling is, the control thing is big. The next one is deservingness. You are a beloved child of God, like everyone else, and you deserve to receive the support that will allow you. I don't know what my phone is. You are. You deserve to receive the support that will allow you to focus upon your divine life purpose. Divine life purpose. That's number one with a bullet. Your divine life purpose shouldn't be simply defined by your resume. You are more than a employee. If that's the case, you would never stop working. So I always give the example. My divine life purpose is to be helpful, to help people, to heal things, to heal spaces, to heal the earth, to protect people and things like that. So anytime I have a job where I'm doing those things, I'm doing my divine purpose. So when somebody says, so what do you do for a living? And I say, I'm a healer while I'm living here. And it's like, you're a healer, so you a medical doctor. I'm like, I'm a doctor, but no, I'm not a medical doctor. I work at a medical school, you know. But I help people whether I'm at work or not. I'm resourceful. I help people. So when you're doing your divine life purpose, focus on your divine life purpose. Even if you can't yet recognize your lovable qualities, trust that God and the angels can see how amazing you truly are. So, in the situations where you might experience the resume stop and frisk, and people want to oh hear you recite your traveling papers off the plantation to go from to and fro and to do things. Keep in mind your divine purpose and speak in love. It's so much easier said than done to actually talk up and say less. And I think that's why so many people admire some of the old school movies that used to be really popular back in the day. Oh, that car really wants to come out pulling the little songs. Is because it's like the strong silent type. You can say a whole lot without saying very much. And I am really trying to maximize that this year. I ain't saying I'm doing the best. It might take me 2 years. Okay. Psalms 147:6. The Lord sustains the humble. And Psalms 147:5. Great is our Lord. His understanding is infinite. So I wish infinite understanding for you and your situations. And when you encounter, you move around and you do this resume stop and frisk. If you really enjoyed this topic, we could come back and revisit it again. Please drop in the comments below um, examples where you've had to do the resume stop and frisk, where you've had to just literally remind a coworker or remind the police or remind a clergyman or remind I had to remind one of my friends today. Well, I ain't gonna say a friend. I was talking about hiring somebody for doing the yard work, and I was telling them that they had to use ear protectors when they do the yard. And they were telling me, oh, you don't really need ear protectors. I was just like, yo, I work for such and such safety, blah, blah. And yes, you need ear protectors. I will not be responsible for you losing your hearing when you work somewhere else. You can go ahead and not use ear protector, but I insist that you practice safety over here. All right. Well, I hope this message finds you well, and I would love to hear your commentary and your thoughts about actually the resume stop and frisk and just the whole psychological brain, the screwing of your brain from slavery up until today about how you have to have your traveling papers, which now is your resume, and you have to actually like recite who you are and how you work in this world just so you can move around in this world and not be further assaulted. And I would love to have a discussion about how right after slavery peonage, the act started where if they saw black people just hanging around, they ain't got no papers now because they're supposed to be free, but you just hanging around, you're not doing anything. So then they could put you in jail for loitering. And then you get to work in the state penitentiary, and the state gets free labor off of you, and how that prison industrial system continues today. All of this is tied to the resume stop and frisk. So I hope this message finds you well, and I hope that you enjoyed the topic, and I hope that you are going to comment below. And next time, feel free to join the link, hit the link so you can join me in the discussion and share your stories about the resume stop and frisk. And I look forward to chopping it up with you next Wednesday about the same time. And again, I appreciate you, and I will see you next time. Peace, love, and bliss.